Hi, family. I pray that you've been blessed in your day today, and I pray that God continues to allow you to walk in His favor as you pursue your relationship with Him. We've been talking about promises, and yesterday we looked at a promise out of Psalm 19 that describes the attributes of God's word and the promises that come with being an individual who studies God's word. But I want to look now in Romans chapter 8 at another promise, and just one verse, but it's really powerful. Verse 28, and we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose. That passage is connected to a number of promises, and we're going to look at each of them as we go a little bit further in our study of promises. But I just want to give you some things that will resonate in your spirit, some stuff that I've found to be very beneficial in my life, and 5 things out of that verse that describe our God and describe the promises of our God. Number 1, in that text, just look at it real slow. Paul says we know, and there's some things that we know. We know, number 1, that God works. And I love thinking about the promise that God is at work. And the reason why is because we live in a world that would believe that God just created this thing and then walked away from it. But that's not the nature of our God. Not only is He a personal God, a personal being who wants to have a relationship with us, but He's a God that is right now at work. He is working in your life, working in my life. He is involved in the souls and the affairs of mankind. But not only does God work, that's number 1. Number 2, God works good. God's efforts and God's activity in our lives are connected to the nature of who He is. He's a good God. So when He works, He's working good. He's doing things that are according to His character, according to His benevolent spirit, according to the nature of who He is. But then number 3, not only is God working, and number 2, not only is God working good, number 3, God is working all things to be good. Everything that God is involved in, all of the things that He's at work with are being woven together for good. But watch the beauty of it. That covers every dimension of my life. That covers every situation in my life. What that means then, when I say dimensions, I'm talking about all of the aspects of life, physical and immaterial, my emotional well-being, my physical well-being. Every dimension of my life, God's involved in. Every situation that I'm working with, God is involved in working those things together for good. But then not only that, every season of my life, God is blessing me. He is working for the good. But I like number 4 in this text because it helps me to appreciate that God is not haphazard, but God is at work. Number 1, God is at work for good. Number 2, God is at work for good in all things. Number 3, but God is at work for good in all things. Number 4, for those that love Him. This is real important because I'm not talking about the love that will be described by our culture or our world. That kind of love is real easy if you have a genie for a God, or if you have a God that answers to you, a God that you're in control of. But that's not the nature of our God. This kind of love means that you surrender to His life. You surrender your life to His will. This kind of love suggests that you are saying to God, I will follow you as you lead. You lead, I will follow. You direct, I will submit. I trust your decisions, and I trust that your decisions are best for me in every moment. So give or take, prosper or prune, reward or refine. I know that whatever you're doing, God, it's working toward the good. After all, you're my creator, and everything you've done in creation has been good. That's the kind of love that you want to follow after God. So the real question then is, are you really loving God? Are you really surrendering in a way that you say, Whatever you choose to do with my life, I trust that it's the best thing for me. Watch it now. God is at work. God is at work in all things. God is at work in all things for the good. God is at work in all things for the good of those that love him. Why? Because your statement of love to God says that I'm surrendering my purpose to you, which then says that God has a purpose for all of those that love him. And that's right. That's absolutely right. He has, not only does he have a purpose for you, but you know that in your life, you can see so many of your brothers and sisters that have already shown how God works things together for good. I think about Joseph. I think about the fact that Joseph really characteristically would be one of those individuals that has dealt with family trauma. He's dealt with being imprisoned. He's dealt with being slandered. He's dealt with having everything removed for him. And yet God would be the kind of individual that would bless him in a way that he is now taking care of the very people that hated him and tried to kill him. He is providing for the whole world. Think about Moses. Moses was born into tragedy, and yet God would use his situation to educate him on how to lead a nation. Powerful. God works things together for good. What about Rahab? Certainly she would morally not fit a characteristic of being a hero, and yet her harlotry was a setup to be a host for those that would deliver her entire family. And then not only that, her life is the lineage all the way to the Lord. So never let your situation, never let your background, never let your current context dictate your destiny. I think that the Bible is right in that God promises us that he's going to work everything together for good. All things work together for good for those that love him, that are called according to his purpose. Listen, God made you a promise. Do you believe it? I do. And I'm praying that you step into that promise. And I pray that you pray for me to step into my promise. Have a blessed day. Walk in the blessings of God. Know that he's at work in your life. God bless you.